Allison J. Shattuck, Esquire. You look lovely today.
Thanks, honey. I appreciate that.
You look great. You look great in a nice button-down shirt, too.
Thank you.
And guess what? I'm in a good mood here today, and you know why?
Why?
Because two things. My CPAP box of filters came in. Next day, Amazon Prime. I've got the new CPAP machine because my recall came through after only a year. And my taco holders are here.
So I missed it because yesterday I was dealing with some child emergencies, but you were explaining that you think these taco holders might have a design flaw.
Well, my worry was that since a lot of you can't see the taco holder, so
Only the 5% can see the taco holder.
That's right. Oh, so you don't care about them. So no, but they hold it. My worry was since it's essentially like a hood rack kind of thing that you place a taco on so it can stand on something. But my worry is that right now it's length enough so that a taco will sit on it. But once you start making progress with the taco, the taco then will just fall through. But it's a
I think
visual.
you're supposed to not be setting it down again once you start, right? Like, isn't it more for when you're building the taco that you need to set it down because you need to use two hands to get the toppings and stuff?
And it's interesting. It says Alasco taco holders, TM, and it's a Alasco in the middle is American flag of that, but then it says this is made in China, but Stillwell, Kansas from Alasco.
I'm confused.
So the product's made in China, but it was somehow it was packaged.
The company is in Kansas. Okay.
So there you go. So there's our code taco holders, Alice. We got a lot of good meats today.
Excellent.
I got 2 propane tanks. So we're gonna rock and roll this week. I've been marinating some chicken. I've eaten the last of the long pasta that I'm going to eat last evening, and I'm eschewing it now, Alice. I'm eschewing the pasta, and you and I are in rehab again.
Nice. I love that. I already feel better.
Until we start stringing a few days together, Alice. All right.
It's been almost 24 hours, and I feel great.
So let's start with some of this. First of all, this guy, Ezra Miller?
Yeah, he's an actor.
Okay, he's an actor, and he's got arrested, and there's audio of him being bitchy to the cops.
He seems to have a problem hanging around with I haven't followed all the, because I don't care that much about him or any of it, but he seems to have a problem with hanging around with fairly young ladies, like 12.
Yeah. Okay, and let's play Ezra.
I saw some footage of them getting arrested in Hawaii.
This guy's calling Ezra them because now
Ezra Miller goes by them.
Right, but so now guys are pedaled to the metal full crazy. It doesn't make any sense.
And every time there's a story about him, people are like, just because Ezra Miller is clearly a bad person doesn't give you the right to misgender them.
And the way they behave is very much privileged status.
I'm not transgender, non-binary. I don't want to be searched by a man. I get assaulted for NFT crypto art. What's your name? What's your badge number? Tell me your name and your badge number.
Let me tell you something. He's 29 years old. I am fine with any person at all, and even Tom Shattuck at 29 years old, who speaking to a cop like that, I am fine with a cop tuning somebody up who's talking like that. Hi. 29. You're 29? I'm not. Okay. Excellent. Well, I'll see you in a bit. Okay?
Talking about somebody else answers, but it's fine.
Keith.
Ezra.
Full name, full badge number. Control 1. My 9th Amendment rights to not be unlawfully persecuted for a crime of no designation.
This is the kind of person.
Okay, so that's whatever. So I don't know anything about Ezra Miller, but he's an a-hole, and I don't like punks, and I hope he gets hit by a watermelon or something.
I'm confused why he's talking about the 9th Amendment.
He doesn't know. He's high, Alice.
I don't know what. I'm confused.
And then sometimes there are times when you say, damn it, this is because we don't want Trump to run again, because I don't think he'll win again. But he could. But I want to turn the channel. I'm ready for somebody new to disrupt the system. But then Trump sometimes says things that are just absolutely perfect, and I think, Jesus, this guy is calibrated exactly right.
It's a disgrace what they're doing to our country. But we can erase the calamities of the Biden years. All it takes is a House, a Senate, and a president who will put America first. One of the greatest travesties of all is to see a person in the White House who, even after years of political experience, has absolutely no clue how to be the President of the United States. And I hope he has recovered because, as you know, he fell off his bicycle today. No, I'm serious. I hope he's okay. Fell off a bicycle. I make this pledge to you today. I will never, ever ride a bicycle.
It's perfect. And he will never ride a bicycle. Of course he would never ride a bicycle.
Why would Trump ever get on a bicycle?
Oh,
He's not going to do that.
I think I've followed all his accounts. He's a weird brain, but a funny dude. But he basically got kicked off Kirk's show.
That's what the other stuff I'm watching. Have you been watching this? Mm-mm. That is Chris Clemmer, who you've done a show with, a podcast with, who is down in New York City right now at Barstool Central.
Headquarters,
trying out to be one of the Barstool people, which is a weird way to spend a summer or spring day, whatever this is. Now, back to Rehoboth and Joe Biden, who Alice laughed at for falling off the bike. I did not look at the record show. Let's go. This is why this guy is just sucking.
Time. My dear mother used to have an expression. Out of everything lousy, something good will happen if you look hard enough for it. Mm-hmm. We have a chance here to make a fundamental turn toward renewable energy, electric vehicles, and not just electric vehicles, but across the board. And that's something we should be. My team is going to be sitting down with the CEOs of the major oil companies this week and try to get an explanation how they justify making $35 billion in the first quarter.
Are you planning to sit down with oil and gas CEOs,
No.
Mr. President? Why is that, sir?
Because my team's going to do that.
Okay. But you did that with retailers and logistics companies and consumer companies.
Because I have it already done.
How can they cut more?
Same time.
This guy is a cynical a-hole. So what he said, if you couldn't hear over the frigging ocean, was my mother had an expression, out of everything lousy, something good will happen. Obviously, that's not something his mother ever said. But that's fine.
Did you say Joey first?
And then he says, we have a chance to make a fundamental turn towards renewable energy, electric vehicles, and across the board. And then he said that the oil company people are coming, so they're going to have to justify why they made profits. This guy in this administration is doing everything badly. You could only think there. I can't think. If somebody said to me, take all this in what he just said and prove to me that this is not, he's not tanking this country intentionally, I couldn't. That is what exactly the unseriousness, the cynical. Wait a second. The country is dying. The country needs gasoline right now. No. We're going to oil-producing companies, and we're going to tell them to start getting into wind and solar and other things? Frig is this?
And we're going to
get your goddamn government cancer hands off anything else. Don't touch anything more.
I know. And it's incredible because it is their policies that have, caused the oil companies to not drill and cut production and all this stuff, that they're not renewing leases and all these things, not doing Keystone. And companies react to the future, not to the actual conditions on the ground right now. So if you make a big show of talking about how you're going to prevent them from making profits and you're going to make sure they can't do any fossil fuel in the future, obviously they're not going to spend their time putting out a bunch of fossil fuel and getting ready to produce fossil fuel because they know that you're going to stop them and ruin their business. So if you make it clear,
so the administration knows this, but they're still going to accuse them of looting anyway.
Right. And
to the American public, which is so freaking cynical and irresponsible.
It's so pathetic because they're doubling down on the exact rhetoric and policies that have energy companies taking every action not to increase supply. You know,
right.
it's their policies. This is such a regulated business that the government policies are what drives a huge amount of the changes in price, right? And we've seen that. Like, we can see what's going on in Russia affects the price, which also, by the way, calling it Putin's price hike doesn't give Biden a pass because in the Trump presidency, Putin wasn't invading Ukraine. Just throwing it out there.
Sure.
That, you know, this is happening on Biden's watch. So you don't get a free pass just because something's happening in Europe. You were Mr. Smart Russia policy who wasn't going to let Putin do bad stuff because Trump was a pushover for Putin, right? That's what everybody told us.
Right.
So, and it seems to me that he's made the Putin price hike possible at every step of the way. But, I mean, it doesn't matter. They've sent every signal, and they're still sending the signal that they hate these oil companies and want them out of business. So why would the oil companies do the administration any favors at this point? You know, they're going to sacrifice themselves on the altar of Biden's presidency. Good luck. But, you know, they've been clear. They've been clear the whole time that they don't want fossil fuel companies, that they want other stuff. So, unfortunately, and like we've said, that other stuff doesn't exist yet at a level where it can replace the fossil fuel use. That's what we've seen now happening over the last year in fuel prices, right? Is that there is no competitor. That if you know, if electric cars were truly ready to be a competitor with fossil fuels, then you would think that gas being $6 a gallon would inspire a bunch of people to go out and buy electric cars. And yet somehow they're not, because there aren't enough electric cars. They can't be charged enough. They're not at a level where people can buy them. I mean, the whole thing is just, it's a debacle. But that's just one of Biden's many debacles. I don't know. If the Republicans take control of the House and Senate and they don't impeach this guy, I will forever be disappointed in the GOP.
Yeah, I hear you.
I promise.
Recession's even more likely than ever.
Not the majority of them aren't saying that. Come on, don't make things up, okay? Now you sound like a Republican politician. I'm joking. That was a joke. That was a joke. But all kidding aside, no, I don't think it is.
Good luck.
All right.
But I don't know. I don't know. The Biden presidency is a disaster. I don't understand who these people are that still
here's
think
the thing,
he's doing a good job.
When the reporter says that they're forecasting recession, Lawrence Tribe was on the shows yesterday saying there's going to be a recession.
Of course there's going to be a recession. Everybody's saying
so why is this frigging donkey saying the majority aren't saying that?
Because he's surrounded by people who are telling him stupid things, like Ron Klain and that guy that you played that was on the Sunday shows this week. No, they're saying there's going to be a transition. A transition into what, though, my friend? A transition into a recession by chance?
All right, next order of business. This is the Navy training its members. I'll just roll this right here. So
my name is Johnny.
Okay, hold on, Johnny. There's a fellow on the left with a white shirt and a rainbow pattern across it. And there's a woman on the right who's got a white shirt with some rainbow lettering on it as well.
Hi, my name is Johnny, and I use he, him pronouns.
Hi, and I'm Conchi, and I use she, her pronouns.
And we're here to talk about pronouns.
What is a pronoun? A pronoun is how we identify ourselves apart from our name, and it's also how people refer to us in conversations.
Using the right pronouns is a really simple way to affirm someone's identity. It is a signal of acceptance and respect.
If it's a signal of acceptance and respect, how do we go about creating a safe space for everybody?
That's a good question. A really good way to do that is to use inclusive language. Instead of saying something like, hey guys, you can say, hey everyone, or hey team.
Yeah, and
this country needs to be nuked right now with full thermonuclear weapons from space, from submarines, from land, from bombers. I beseech Vladimir Putin to destroy the United States immediately. Now, it is our time to turn the lights out. We're done.
Do people join the armed forces expecting there to be a safe space?
I would have thought traditionally no. I don't think that the enemy respects safe spaces.
No, they don't. What if they, use the wrong pronouns about you when they're setting up the IED?
If they say,
to
hey,
blow
guys,
you up?
right before they execute everybody.
And now that you say that, another way that we could show that we're allies and that we accept everybody is to maybe include our pronouns in our email.
The allies are going to get slaughtered by the Axis next go around because this mad black magic crazy pussy witchery that's happening. You can't have this. You cannot have this.
I honestly, if somebody asked me what my pronouns are, I would be offended.
Yeah, go F yourself. This is your pronoun.
But not just because of like the philosophical whole thing, but I mean, like if somebody said, what are your pronouns? I would ask them, like, can you not tell that I'm a woman? Like, what are you trying to say about me and like my appearance? And I feel like I want to go to HR and like ask them to say, although HR is not going to be on your side, but it's like, I find it offensive, the idea that you wouldn't know that I'm a woman. I feel like that's rude, right? If somebody was like, are you a man or a woman? That's because that's what the pronouns question asks, right? Like, what pronouns do you go by? Like, you can't freaking tell?
Except everybody is to maybe include our pronouns in our emails, or like we just did, introduce ourselves using our pronouns.
But what would I do if I misgender someone?
I think the first thing to recognize is that it's not the end of the world.
What since when?
Oh, thank goodness.
What do you mean it's not the end of the world? How about that we expand it's not the end of the world and say toughen the fuck up. Rainbow sweater boy, you leave, and the lady with the white t-shirt, you leave too. Get the fuck out of here and never come back, and F you both. How about that? Oh my God.
Don't traditionally, like I don't know much about training for the armed forces except what's in movies, but it seems like generally like the drill instructors and stuff are kind of not very kind to the recruits.
Well, yes, traditionally, and I assume that is directly being. I'm sure the guy on the left, Bobby, is a drill instructor now.
Correct yourself and move on, or you accept the correction and move on. The most important thing I can tell you is do not put the burden of making you feel good about your mistake on the person that you just misgendered.
Oh, thank you for telling me that.
Yeah, and another.
His acting is wonderful, too.
Another tip for you to remember their pronoun next time, it's in your mind. Kind of go through a progression of 3 good things about the person using their pronoun. So let's say the person chooses to use they, then you will in your mind go, they have a nice shirt.
Holy Jesus Christ.
Any other mantras that I have to repeat about people using their pronouns?
Well, I want to know, what would I do if I want to know someone's gender identity or pronouns?
The most important thing.
I love this. They're also treating these Navy people like they're 3 years old. So I'll just ask off the cuff these questions that, we could just present in a bullet point and just have the insanity in a packet handout. But no, because we've infantilized these kids so much. Let's just do it. We'll play act it for them right in front of. This is Mr. Hooper on Sesame Street. This is Sesame Street, really.
Is do not pressure anybody into giving you their pronouns. Some people may be going through the process of discovery and they are not ready.
That's what it is. It's the process of discovery that's happening. It's not the conveyor belt into insanity that we know it is. Oh, this process. He's not ready. He's not far enough in his journey. You got to be effing kidding me. Is this the only way I say this is okay is if somebody tells me this is all a plot to reelect Donald Trump?
So I have more this is tough because so you're not allowed to ask people what their pronouns are, or ask them to give you your pronouns because that can hurt them when they're in the process of discovery. But if you misgender them, you need to apologize. Like, how are you supposed to know in advance what people's pronouns are? Then, if they have weird pronouns,
I don't know.
The other thing about this is like, are the type of people, and I guess maybe the answer to this question has been changing over the last few years, but are the type of people who are in the armed forces, like, are they really getting, making more people happy than they're upsetting by this? Because I would think, based on people I've known who've served, that this is going to be pissing off a lot more people than it's going to be helping and making happy. Doesn't that seem likely?
I would say yes,
but
including anybody who's ever served. This is effing. And I
do they do this in the new Top Gun movie? Do they?
This
ask
is effing madness.
Their pronouns?
This is effing madness. This is insane. This whole ideology thing is an insane, made up world. That's just it's an acid trip. It makes no sense. It's dumb. It's madness. This whole idea of it doing it to Navy people so they don't hurt each other's feelings is, of course, insulting and madness. The idea that the people in the Air Force who were running the fat people with their gay rights flag is freaking madness and absurd, obviously. All of this is totally absurd. And it's making me have no quarter for really any of it now.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't want... I didn't like the idea of drag queens reading to children. But if there was a 60-year-old guy who just... Now I just don't want any drag queens reading to kids. There was probably a time in my life where I could say, if some guy was like Rachel Levine and decided whatever... No. I'm not just none... No. Why are special people reading to kids at all? This is just... they suck. I'm just...
Yeah, I don't think they're doing anything helpful for their cause here. That's for sure. I don't think they're, winning converts to their ideology by doing stuff like this. I think they are just creating divisions, pissing people off. Well, but that makes me think, I think in the armed forces in particular, it's so blatant and it's so counter to what the armed forces should be spending their time doing. Like, I really just think they're trying to purge conservatives out of the armed forces.
Well, maybe they are, but, you need some badasses serving, and if you want to win. But if that's not the point, they don't want to win anymore. Well, then.
I would feel disrespected by you. Some names are very difficult to pronounce. My name is Johnny, and you insist on mispronouncing my name. I would feel disrespected by you. Some names are very difficult to pronounce, but do you know what is very easy to pronounce? She, he, they.
Nav speaks. Okay.
The other thing is, too, is our enemies see this stuff.
Yeah.
Like, what do you think, Putin and Xi are thinking when they see these videos come out?
I think they're thrilled. Obviously, they're looking at it and they're saying, this is why you don't do full representative democracy. This is why you don't. You don't let the...
You don't let the inmates run the asylum.
Right. I mean, are they wrong?
The left hasn't been making a good case the last few years, but I'm hopeful there will be an electoral backlash, but I don't know. You never know. But I can't believe this stuff. I never thought we'd see stuff like this in my lifetime, but also, it's like the logical conclusion of everything the left says that they want to do. So, I think everybody is proven right. I mean, even the people that wanted to get rid of Don't Ask, Don't Tell, I think there are probably some people who thought Don't Ask, Don't Tell wasn't nice that see a video like this and think, what have we done? We need to backtrack to past Don't Ask, Don't Tell and all the way to just not allowing any of this.
Well, and here's the other thing is that, I mean, this is the progressive radicals. They are pushing this movement on all fronts.
Mm-hmm.
So, for instance, let me read, this is a little bit of Noah Rothman piece in Commentary Magazine.
Okay.
You are what you don't eat. Cook's Burritos, a food truck that served patrons in Portland, Oregon, was a smashing success. Its proprietors became local celebrities. In one interview with a Portland journalist, the truck's owners, Kaylee Wilgus and Liz Connolly, confessed that they had the idea for their little food truck following a trip to Mexico. There, they fell in love with the cuisine, asked local chefs to share their recipes and techniques, and brought them back to the Pacific Northwest. Soon enough, the phenomenon's origin story became a subject of outrage. The two women were accused by the city's identity-obsessed press of being white cooks bragging about stealing recipes from Mexico. In 2017, the Portland Mercury placed their names on an ignoble list of white-owned appropriative restaurants. Imagine having that list, keeping that list. Exclaimed the Mercury, because of Portland's underlying racism, the people who rightly owned these traditions and cultures that exist are already treated poorly. Wilgus and Connolly were accused of erasing and exploiting their already marginalized identities for the purpose of profit and praise. Cook's online reviews went south and business dried up. The truck was soon forced to fold, not because the food these two women made was bad, but because it was good. In 2018, Abe Conlon won a James Beard Award for Best Chef in the Great Lakes region for his work at Fat Rice. The restaurant had been a local favorite since it opened its doors in 2012. In 2015, it was proclaimed by Chicago Magazine the most universally beloved restaurant in Chicago. It specialized in cuisine from the Chinese Autonomous Region of Macau. Situated across the Pearl River Delta from Hong Kong, Macau was a Portuguese colony from 1783 until 1976. In September of 2020, the restaurant's proprietors, this is beautiful, sought to convey their support for the anti-police protests that had erupted across the country with some Instagram activism. So the restaurant posted a few anodyne images of protests and a message, "We remain dedicated to our values. We oppose all forms of racism and we stand with those fighting for justice and equality in our communities in Chicago and across the world." A former employee savaged the restaurant for what he deemed its insufficient gesture of support for racial justice. "You're not going to say Black Lives Matter even though you take from black culture all the time," he wrote. With that, the dam burst. A handful of former restaurant employees took to social media to allege that Conlon was abusive and his business practices were racist. Yada, 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 yada. And, of course, they were close to close as well. So, at some point, Alice, to everybody listening right now, to all of you guys, to me, Alice, and to you, I would think probably me before you, but maybe not. At some point, somebody is going to come to us and demand that we show allegiance to the movement. And it is going to happen, whether or not it's by using pronouns, whether or not it's by signing something, showing up at an event. It could be even something to do with getting credit cards or something like. These people are going to come for every person listening. And you're going to have to make a choice.
Right. Right. And I think the important thing to remember is that, as like a lot of these cases show, that doing what they tell you to do doesn't get them off the hook for them punishing you anyway.
No.
So you might as well, quote, live your truth, as they say, when they come to you demanding something, because they're not going to, be nicer to you because you do what they ask. If anything, they are more demanding of you if you acquiesce to any of their requests. It only gets worse. The more you agree to, the more they come after you. That's just how it is, because you've signaled to them that you're weak and you're going to bend the knee to them.
Yes. They'll just be more emboldened. And you're going to have the media who will give them total and utter cover. And they're going to say that it is indeed racist, that you're not conforming, or that, that for us, it will be just simply white supremacists.
Oh, yeah.
In the instant. Because the media is sick of doing their stated job. This is John Harwood talking about Biden. He's the CNN heavy in the news.
On the other hand, what's false is that he is not capable of doing the job right now, or he's not mentally in tune with the demands of the job. anybody, any aide who engages with him or reporters. We can see this. The gears of his mind are working. That's an issue pushed by right-wing media, but it's not correct.
That's a reporter, a journalist for CNN doing PR damage control on Biden's behalf. We know that the gears of his mind are working. He said as a witness to somebody who just saw the gears of his mind work. He's inside his mind. He notices that everything is working just fine.
Right.
These are propagandists, and that is a problemo. And it's going to get worse.
Of course, these people all engaged in endless speculation about Trump's mental state. They wrote books about it that were full of hearsay and guessing and all kinds of things. I mean, like, the speculation about what Trump was up to in the White House was out of control during the Trump presidency. So, and remember the whole thing about how he took, like, the mental fitness test?
Mm-hmm.
And they all were like, that's a sign that really he has some mental problem. He's not sharing. Like, they would only give you this test if they thought he was losing his mind, all this stuff. I haven't seen Biden pass that mental fitness test, and I'm not convinced he could. It was things like that anybody should be able to do, obviously, like draw a clock. Like, it should be completely within the realm of anybody who has their faculties, clearly, which I think is why it got made fun of when Trump took the test. But, I'd like to see Biden pass a mental fitness test right now. I mean, like, I don't know why. I don't know why we're playing this pretend game when he clearly doesn't have his fastball anymore. I don't know.
Good.
Jump in with something. I was going to share this story with you because ABC ran with this story today. That's it's from the Associated Press. So this is just an AP Wire story that they took. But they forgot when they took the Associated Press story to change it from the just straight up Democrat PR piece that they were fed by somebody to include any like Democrats claim or anything like that in their lead. This is the lead of the story that's on abcnews.go.com right now. Washington. Democrats are going to hold on to the House after November's midterm elections. They will pick up as many as 4 seats in the Senate, expanding their majority and overcoming internal dissent that has helped stifle their agenda.
Well, I heard about that earlier, and it links back to something in 2020, right? So what is that? It's just kind of an anomaly, I think. I don't really think that's
It's anything. Like a weird broken thing, because the story is labeled June from... the story's labeled June on abcnews.go.com.
Yeah, so somebody screwed up, obviously.
So, yeah, it's just funny that they're, like, publishing this, like, in a serious way. In a lengthy Oval Office interview with the Associated Press on Thursday, Biden said part of his job as president is to be confident. Because I'm confident, he said, we are better positioned than any country in the world to own the second quarter of the 21st century. That's not hyperbole, that's a fact. While presidents often try to emphasize the positive, yeah, I mean, somebody just forgot to put in the Biden feels or Democrats say or something into the story. But it's funny because they just take this stuff. They never would have made that, quote, mistake with a Trump presidency. They would have said Trump says without proof.
Yeah, it's interesting how over the weekend listening to the news items, how often the Democrats, Chuck Todd mostly, but all the Democratic hosts talk about Trump's lies. Trump's lies, and Trump continued to lie about it for lie. That is a term that is reserved exclusively for Trump, because it's not a journalism word. You wouldn't write copy saying somebody lied. You don't say that. You know, you're saying somebody lied is applying intent.
Right.
So you wouldn't do that. A journalist would give you the facts and let you decide if somebody was lying or what was going on.
Right.
They can say that something is inaccurate, unproven, or whatever. But a lie is only reserved for Donald Trump. Nobody else in Washington, D.C. The biggest, of course, lair of snake liars in the world. Of course, all
politicians lie all the time. That's just normal. But yeah, the way the press behaved with Donald Trump and the way they're behaving now with Biden, like when you bring up the Harwood thing, that's like what made me think of it. Is it's just they just are so they're so willing to carry water for the Biden presidency and to really like make excuses for the presidency. And I understand they all voted for him, so it feels weird, like, to criticize him. But I just don't see how anybody can, in an honest way, think that Biden's doing a good job. And I see these people on Facebook, like I see people post political stuff, and all the liberals will jump on and be like, I'd like to see you do better. What would you want Biden to do? He can't help that Putin invaded Ukraine. It's not his fault. That's why the gas prices are up. It's just because Trump ruined things. It would be so much worse if Trump were president. Like, I don't understand how they can really believe this stuff. Like, you were alive like 2 years ago when Trump was president, right? You remember that? It just seems incredible to me that people really feel that way. But I think that's what's going on with the press, too, is I think they just feel they, pushed so hard for Biden and built him up so much and turned him into something that he's not in their heads, with like their pictures of the glasses, and him in the car and how cool he is and fun, and him eating ice cream and all this stuff. Like, they just loved him, and they built him up, this idea of him in their heads, and they can't admit that they were wrong, that he just sucks and he's destroying the country. They're just embarrassed for themselves that they propped him up this much. So they have to, it's like a CYA thing. They're covering for themselves more than they're covering for him, almost, I think, at this point, because it is such an embarrassment. I would sure be embarrassed if I voted for him. And, after I voted for Trump the first time, I was very worried that I was going to be embarrassed by having voted for Trump in the future at some time. I definitely voted for Trump and held my breath and hoped that it would turn out okay. But, the people who voted for Biden were so sure that they were doing an awesome thing and it was going to be so great. And it's so clear now that it wasn't that what they thought. I think that they're all just in total denial because they can't admit that they were wrong.
Oh, yeah, and I understand that, too, because it's humiliating for them.
Yeah, it has to be somebody else's fault, because it can't be that this great guy with the nice family and the son who lost his life after serving, and, this great story and all this stuff, like Scrappy Joe and all the things they kind of like built up this mythology around him, who was Obama's vice president and all this stuff. Like, they can't admit that guy, the Joe Biden of their imagination, could ruin the country this badly. So it has to be somebody else's fault. Somebody else must have done it. It can't be the person they voted for.
Yeah, which is why it just gets so tedious. By the way, thank you for doing the video. I understand you lashed out at me and on social media at 3 a.m.
I didn't. You woke me up.
Well,
I fell
dereliction
asleep
of duty. I was
because I was so exhausted.
Uh-huh.
I was so exhausted, and I fell asleep. I was exhausted. What is that supposed to mean? I was so exhausted, and I fell asleep, and you came in and woke me up at 11:30 and started swearing at me.
I wasn't swearing at you.
No,
People were
you
asking.
said.
People were asking.
You said, I guess people aren't going to see the effing videos anytime soon.
Right,
and
there
like,
you go.
So,
see, that is, Alice, because you said you were going up to do the videos, and then
I know, and I fell asleep. Sorry,
I know, but I was telling our
tired.
Public that the videos were going to be up
well,
there.
The videos got up, so I hope you're pleased with yourself that I got.
You see, and then Leslie made a great video out of our video as well. You see, I'll take your apology when you're ready.
I'll take your apology.
I was charming. You were.
You were mean. Next time you just put up the videos.
No, I had been reached out to by our listeners and watchers, viewers, fans.
I've been reached out to too, but
and so I had
tired.
to, and I didn't realize you were taking your cat nap before that. I did it in service to the listeners, Alice, and so I'll. You know what? I know you mean to say sorry, but you can't. Just like Biden voters. All right, Albie. Okay, homie. You ready for the music?
I'm ready. Thank you so much for listening, everybody. As always, like John said, we are caught up again on videos, so you can find those at YouTube or at rumble.com. Just find the Burn Barrel Pod there. You can always find us at burnbarrelpodcast.com. There's the links to all the places to watch and listen. And on social media at burnbarrelpod on Twitter, facebook.com/burnbarrelpodcast. Shoot us an email, burnbarrelpodcast@gmail.com.
C'est la vie.